Maize remains a staple food in this country. From our dining table to the shelves in the market to the animal feed industry, we see maize remains an important ingredient. Apparently, in the recent past, this our dear maize is under threat. Who is the culprit? The Fall Armyworm. Today, we are going to take time to understand the Fall Armyworm and how we can control these pests, because when maize production is threatened, we threaten food security and livelihoods. It is so good to see you here today. Thank you for choosing the Farmer's Friend channel. Here we learn how to grow and make more out of our farms, regardless of the many challenges that face agriculture production. And I welcome you today that we may learn together. To be able to understand the Fall Armyworm, we want to start by understanding the life cycle of the Fall Armyworm. This pest has got 4 distinctive stages. Number 1 is the moth, which lay the eggs, which is the stage number 2. And then number 3 is the larvae. And number 4 is the pupa. So we will start by looking at the moth. What are the characteristics of this moth? Number 1 is that it flies for a long distance. It is a strong flyer. It can fly for a long distance, up to 100 kilometers. And then number 2, it has got many alternative hosts. So it can, especially in the grass family, it can be a host on maize plant, on sorghum, on wheat, and any other grass family plants. And so when the moth comes, what it does, it loves laying eggs. And that brings us to our stage number 2. So it lays eggs, and it likes laying its eggs in the middle part of the maize, this part that we call the hull, the center part of the maize. And it lays the eggs in clusters. Like you can see here, there are many eggs here. It has laid here in clusters, and it lays eggs in clusters of 100 to 200. And it can lay these eggs for a period of 3 weeks. You can imagine laying the eggs for 3 weeks in masses of 100 to 200. Those are many eggs. And so when it lays eggs, it likes laying the eggs here where it's a bit hidden. So the eggs are here in the masses. And after 3 to 5 days, the eggs that we see here will now hatch into our stage number 3, which is the larvae stage. And this is the most destructive stage of the Fall Armyworm. So when the larvae are hatched, they are usually green in color to start with. And then as they grow, the larvae has got different stages. So as they grow, they will change into different color shades. So when it matures, it can turn to brownish, yellowish. But one distinctive character of the larvae that will make us not miss is that it has got a light shade of inverted Y on the head, and then it has got 4 dots on the head that forms a square shape. That is how you get to know the larvae. And so the larvae, when it matures, it comes down here, and like here we can see there is a larvae here. A larvae here that is green in color, that shows it was not hatched a long time ago. And you can see the characteristics that we are talking about. So when the larvae is young, it feeds on the leaves like here, forming transparent window. You can see the window pane here that the larvae has fed on. And then when it matures, now it is able to feed through the leaf and poke leaves here through the leaves. And you can see through the leaf. So when they are young, they make windows like this. And then when they mature, they feed through the leaves. And the larvae can feed for a long time before it molts to the next stage. It takes 14 to 21 days feeding on the leaves. And that is why we see this stage is the most destructive, because if the eggs were laid in masses and then they molt into larvae, it can be very destructive on your maize crop. So after the 2 to 3 weeks, the larvae will fall on the ground and it will molt into a pupa stage. The pupa stage is inactive. It burrows in the soil. It can burrow from 2 to 8 centimeters deep, depending with the structure of the soil. And then it molts into a moth again. And so the life cycle begins. So we start from the moth. The moth will lay egg. The eggs will molt. 3 to 5 days, it will molt into a larvae. And we said the larvae is the most destructive. It feeds, like you can see how it has fed on this maize crop. Here you can see the destruction starting from the middle going outward. And then the larvae will molt into the pupa. The pupa will burrow. 3 to 5 days, it will molt again into a moth, and the cycle begins again. Having understood the life cycle of the fall armyworm, we want to ask ourselves, how do we control this pest? To be able to control the pest successfully, no single method works. So we have to do integrated pest management and combine everything together so that we are able to manage the crop, the pest effectively. To start with, we'll start with the cultural method. And the cultural method we look at early planting. So when you plant your maize crop early, it is able to grow and escape the infestation of the fall armyworm. The second thing that you can do is scouting. Every now and then, it is important that you come going around your farms and checking for infestation of the fall armyworm. The earliest sign that we see are these translucent windows that it forms when the larvae are just starting to feed. So when you've just seen this window pane here, this would be an opportune time to start treating the fall armyworm. The other thing that you can do is crop rotation. We have said that fall armyworm has got a wide range of host crop that affects, that it finds to rest on. So it is important that after you do maize, then you do a different crop the next season so that you reduce the fall armyworm in your farm. The other thing that you can do is making sure that your crop is well fertilized. Like this crop we see here, though it has been infested, we can see that it is strong and it might be able to escape the effect of the fall armyworm because it has got good vigor from the onset. So the other thing that we need to do is to check on the hygiene. So it's important to remove the weeds and grasses, and after the crop is cut, it is important to remove the crop so that you don't have any stage of the fall armyworm left in the farm. So ensure proper field and soil hygiene to ensure that you are able to fight the fall armyworm. The other thing that we can do, the control method that we can use, is the biological method. These will be very difficult in an expansive farm like this, but in a small farm, you can use chicken can feed on the pupa of the fall armyworm, or even the larvae. You can remove the larvae and the pupa and chicken can feed on it, but in a small piece of land. So in a big piece of land like this, advanced technologies would be used to do biological control. Yeah, but for a small piece of land, you can use natural enemies that can feed on the larvae and the pupa of the fall armyworm. And the last method that we see in the control of this pest is by using chemicals. And there are many chemicals that you can use. This should be the last resort. Using chemicals should be the last resort when controlling the fall armyworm. And maybe before you apply the chemicals, there are important things that we need to consider. Number one, it is always important to consider the time of application. When do you apply pesticide? Not only this one for fall armyworm, not only for controlling pests, but generally when you use chemicals in your farm. The rule of the thumb is you apply either early in the morning or late in the evening. Then the other important thing that you need to do when you are applying chemicals is you check the active ingredient. The active ingredient is the insecticide or the pesticide itself. So always know the active ingredient so that you are able to use these chemicals effectively. Then the third point that you need to consider is that you need to have your protective clothing on. You need to have your nose masks, you need to have a protective jacket, you need to have your gumboots on so that you are taken care of, because many farmers are usually affected by these chemicals and they bring disease conditions in their body that harm them even after applying the chemical. So it's good to make sure that you are well dressed when you go to apply your chemicals. Then point number 4 that you need to check, and many farmers forget to check this, it is important to check the expiry date. When you go to buy your chemical, either you are buying a herbicide or a pesticide, it is important to check the expiry date. Sometimes these chemicals will sit in the agrovets for a long time, and if you buy it when it's expired, it will not be effective. So check the expiry date. Then the last thing that you need to check when you are buying your pesticide, it is also important to check the PHI, the pre-harvest interval. So every chemical that you buy, it has got the number of days. Some will be for 7 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the toxicity of the pesticide. So it's always good to check the PHI at the pre-harvest interval so that you don't apply your chemical today and you harvest your produce tomorrow. That is one of the things that has brought chemical residues to our food, and we consume food that has got chemical substances because we do not check the PHI. It is important, my dear farmers, to always be checking the PHI after you apply and before you harvest the produce that you have harvested, that you have before you apply the chemical that you are applying. So having said that, what are the pesticides or the pesticides that we can use to control the fall armyworm? To be able to control the fall armyworm using the chemical control method, we look for the active ingredient. And because different chemicals and different companies use different active ingredients, I will give you the active ingredients that are effective in controlling fall armyworm. When you go buying the particular chemical, you look out for the active ingredient. Number 1 is emamectin benzoate. Number 2, you can check for a chemical that has got spinosad as an active ingredient. You can also look for a chemical that has got spinetoram as an active ingredient. You can look for a chemical that has got indoxacarb as an active ingredient. And finally, you can look for one that has got flubediamide as an active ingredient. So in the video, I have put some examples so you can check for the trade names. And then depending with where you are, a chemical with any of these active ingredients will be helpful to fight the fall armyworm pest in your farm. So having said this, don't rely on one particular method. Like we said in the beginning, it is good you integrate many methods. You check whether biological control works for you, whether chemical and cultural. But cultural is very important. These are important routine practices that we need to employ in our farm, and it will help us to control not only fall armyworm, but it will help us even improve our produce as we continue farming day to day. Do you have any chemical or any strategy that you have used to control fall armyworm in your farm and it has worked for you? Share in the comment section below that other farmers can learn from you. I believe you've picked a lesson or two in the management of the fall armyworm. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next episode. Stay blessed.